Hey guys, welcome back. Last video we finished up the intake system. We got the cold air system from the bumper up to the intake with these 3D printed pipes that we skinned with carbon fiber, and then we 3D printed full boxes with air filter down in the snorkels. We got a few comments, so we want to address them really quick. These do have a lot of flex. These are called Vangeon clamps, and they allow the pipes to move, so the engine, even though it's on poly mounts and they don't move quite a bit, this will still allow it to not crack. So there's no bellows or rubber that should be needed. And we do have holes in the bottom, or small, it's not the biggest hole, but there is a drain hole down there. And the floor is sloped to allow the water to drain out the hole, so it shouldn't get full with water. And then the other thing is the surface area of this port. It's actually bigger than the pipe diameter itself, so it shouldn't be a problem, but those are all good points and we'll keep them in mind as we're testing things out. But we ended the last video hoping to drive the car, but the throttle bodies we couldn't get figured out. We're still in that situation right now. Like we said, these are 5-wire throttle bodies that we upgraded to, so it'll actually save us the input on the ECU. So we're happy about that, but we're running into an issue with the fuel tech caught throwing an error. So we've emailed fuel tech to give us some help with our tune and make sure we get these things working. While we wait for fuel tech to get back to us, we're gonna start buttoning some things up because it's hammer time. What that means actually is we have 82 days to SEMA 2025. Now, we're not in SEMA. We've been talking about this for feels like forever, but we're not in SEMA. But we're hopeful maybe something will come through. So we're gonna work on this car like we're going to go to SEMA on November 3rd and rip a V10 down Las Vegas Boulevard, even though we don't have an invitation yet. But that doesn't matter. That means we got things to do. We got the car to get ready. Big thing we gotta do with the car is get it painted. We're not doing a wrap. We wanna paint the car. So we gotta prepare the things, get it over to the shop, get it painted, and button up all the small details. There's quite a bit to do, so let's get started.
One of the things we left off unfinished, which I think some of you might have noticed as well in the front, is the rear bumper. So this is a stock Lincoln Continental bumper that we cut in half with the help of our boy Akira Nakai. And this lower part that we actually covered in forged carbon is from a 2018 Mustang, a GT. We wanted to blend the looks of the Mustang rear balance into the Continental bumper. It looked super aggressive. Now we're at a point that we want to finish this bumper for good, which means we have to add the kind of the last piece, and this is this rear diffuser, which goes right in the center. So we didn't have a way to attach it yet, and we wanted to wait for the exhaust to be fully mounted just so we could see how much room we have. We have some tabs we can mount it to, and then we're going to use some sort of 3D printed tabs to attach it to the actual bumper. And one more thing we need to do is integrate the Continental exhaust tips. So these are the stock Continental exhaust tips that we also integrated the shape into the Mustang rear balance. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, but I don't know if you can kind of tell how it's supposed to look like, but this is going to go from the back, and then the exhaust tip just exits right in here. So we think it's going to look sick. Now we just basically have to get all this to fit in the bumper, and it'll be ready for paint. So we're going to take it off the car, put it on the table, and start gluing things together.
So like Diego said, we got a couple things to mount up on this bumper. We've printed a whole bunch of tabs, and let's show you what the plan is. So the big thing we have to mount are the exhaust tips. These are pretty heavy, they're all metal, and they use these two mounting locations that we were able to retain from the Continental, but they're not strong enough. So just these two, we're gonna add one here. So what we've done is 3D printed a boss that's basically gonna get stand off from the wall there and allow us to bolt in and secure it in this direction. So that'll give us enough strength for that. So we'll glue this on and see how that fits. And then on the center, we have the little fake diffuser that comes on the Mustang bumper. So this is gonna sit in here, and
Yeah, on the other side.
And I guess one of the things is this is actually attached here. Originally we had to cut it off because we didn't want to wrap this or forge carbon fiber look this. We want this to be painted body color or black, just to give it a contrast. So now we have to come back and figure out how we're going to mount it. So the plan is going to be using these brackets like this. Something. Yeah, so see, that's not going to work. So we got to recad. That's the beauty of 3D print, baby. But anyway, the plan is these are going to get glued, one down here, one on the thing, and then we could use a bolt and nut and hold it together.
We'll do that all the way around, basically.
Yeah, we'll have multiple of them. Then we have these little guys that go on the edge, and oh, those look good. And we'll screw that into that little tang there. So that'll allow us to make this removable.
We 3D printed standoffs to bridge the original Continental exhaust tips to the Mustang rear balance. After securing the standoffs to the tips, we mounted them to the bumper using the 2 original mounts on the bumper. This helped us make sure everything was aligned properly. We then applied some super glue to the standoff and pressed everything in place. We also reinforced the joint with some metal staples and epoxy to give the joint more strength. We used the same method to attach the printed tabs for the rear balance, a bit of super glue and some staples to add strength. For the side tabs, once we got them glued to the rear valance, we could then mark the location for the corresponding hole on the bumper. Then drill straight into the plastic and repurpose some J-nuts from the interior, which somehow fit perfectly.
So we got a Mustang rear backup light that we're going to put into these spots. So let's make sure this thing fits.
Having this Mustang backup light also helped us make sure the bumper and rear valance were aligned properly, since it shares mounts on both parts. We may do something cool with this lens, maybe laser etch the V10 logo onto it. I think that would look really cool lit up at night. At this point, the rear valance was basically fully mounted, but we still wanted to add a couple more tabs to reinforce the joint. So we added 2 of these, one on either side of the light. To finish the rear bumper, we had to make a small mount to secure the rear valance / bumper to the body of the car itself. So we cut a straight piece of sheet metal, added some flares using the bead roller, then welded 2 stray rods to bridge the bottom of the trunk to the plate mounted on the rear valance. And there it is. The bumper and rear valance are finally fully mounted. It's solid, it's clean, and it looks factory.
So that's all for the bumper. It's fully mounted now. We got it rigidly secured. It's where it needs to be. Everything fits right. We got a couple exhaust hangers we're going to add to the exhaust to kind of hold it up a little bit higher, but it looks pretty cool. You can see the exhaust hanging.
This thing looks amazing. Look at it.
It hangs
it's
down.
Finally done.
Yeah, it's finally. I mean, now we have little things to do, so we're going to re-sand this, polish or paint it. We didn't paint.
Clear it.
Yeah,
right?
clear coat it. So sand that, make it smooth, clear coat it. Finish up cleaning the tips, polishing that up, and then this center section, now we can unbolt it, finish it how we want it to, then bolt it back on. So that's a bonus of doing it this way. But now we are there with the rear bumper. So on to the next project.
One more thing we're going to try and do is also remake our wing. So this is the original wing we made with the same way we did all the side skirts and the front splitter. We added foam and we gave it a shop carbon treatment. But as you can see, we left it outside for a couple of weeks and it yellowed out, which means we have to resand it. I mean, it still needs work. The wing fits fine, but we actually want to try and 3D print the full wing ourselves instead of doing foam and chopped carbon and stuff. So what we're going to do instead is 3D scan the trunk, and we're going to try and CAD our own wing. We might actually do a very similar shape. We might try a couple things, and it's going to be a lot faster than it was when we did the foam. So hopefully
we might end up going using this.
Yeah,
honestly.
maybe. We'll see. But one thing we actually want to try and do with the 3D print too is integrate some kind of mount mechanism. Because right now, as you can see, it's just all foam in here. So we're actually not sure how we're going to mount this to the trunk yet. And if we 3D print it, we can integrate some kind of mount, boss, threaded insert, whatever. So we're going to go ahead and we already have the trunk taped up. We have our markers. We have the scanner ready to go. So we're just going to go ahead and scan it and spend a couple hours CADing, figuring out how we want to design it. Maybe just use this as a template to start with. But have some fun. The shape of the trunk is relatively simple, so the scanner picked everything up very quickly. It also helps to update the firmware. Turns out it makes a pretty big difference in the scan quality. That's your tech tip for today. To keep the design simple, I built out just one side of the wing first, added all the shapes and features we wanted, then mirrored it across the center to get the full piece. I sent that straight to the 3D printer, not as the final version, but as a test fit to check the shape and angles on the trunk. Once that's confirmed, I can lock in the final design without wasting time and material printing wing after wing. Alright, let's put this wing together. Now while I'm doing this, I want to take a second and talk about something that a lot of us are a little too familiar with, and that's debt. When I was in college, I was debt broke. I had no money, and every single thing I was buying, whether it was food, whether it was books, school supplies, it was all on credit cards. Then I took a job here in Michigan, so I moved across the country. I had to furnish an entire home, all on the budget of $0. So I put everything on credit cards. It took me a long time to get caught up. Now I'm basically blowing all kinds of money on this V10 Continental build, but luckily, if I ever feel like things are getting out of hand, I know I can rely on my friends over at PDS Debt to help me get back on track, and so can you. PDS Debt has customized options for anyone struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, and even medical bills. They understand your specific scenario, and they will provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free. And there's no minimum credit score required. They're here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money back where it belongs, your pocket. PDS offers a free debt assessment, and it only takes 30 seconds. Visit pdsdebt.com/buildityourself or scan the QR code on the screen to find out the best options for you. That's pdsdebt.com/buildityourself. Once more, pdsdebt.com/buildityourself. If you're anything like us and you buy way too many car parts or too many projects, things can get out of hand very quickly. If you make credit card payments every month, but the balance just doesn't seem to come down, it's probably that interest rate just squeezing more and more every time. PDS Debt can help you by crafting a custom solution to help you start saving money. So if you're buried with credit cards, loans, medical bills, and you're not sure where to go from there, turn to PDS Debt, take back control, save money, and move forward with confidence. Take the 30-second free debt assessment at pdsdebt.com/buildityourself. All right, all done. Finally looks like a wing. Thanks to PDS for sponsoring today's video. Now let's go test fit this in the car. Bruh. Here we go. So this is our first iteration, our first attempt at replicating that style of wing. So we kind of got the shape here. We did remove the bottom lip that we had built into this one. We're still not sure what looks better. I think we're just going to add this back, basically go back to the same design, but we'll see what it looks like. But it seems like we got a pretty good fit. I think this was the main concern with 3D or CADing this, because SolidWorks is really not tailored for like surface working, or at least we don't know how to do SolidWorks surface working. So this was designed with the most rudimentary type of style, blocks and cuts and stuff. So, but it works. I mean, the shape actually follows the trunk fairly well. We're going to make a couple adjustments to the wing, and then basically we're going to go back to more carbon. So yay. Yeah. All right, here we go. This is the last revision of the wing, fully 3D printed. So we added the little cutout here. I also gave it a little bit of a, I guess, a secondary angle, a wing to the wing. It actually looks really nice like this. So hopefully once we lay the carbon on it and the epoxy, we can still see that very distinct shape. We might have to sand very carefully near this area. But I think we're going to leave this for a future episode because we have a lot of things to get done. Let's move on to the last thing we want to tackle this weekend.
So there's one more project we want to wrap up that's kind of been lingering for a little while. If you remember, our original plan was to get the stock cluster to work, and we didn't dive into CAN and figure that out at that time. Instead, we 3D printed an adapter and mounted the fuel tech here. So now all our information and our display is here on the fuel tech. But this is like a 4-inch screen, which is a downgrade from what the original car had, which was a bigger screen. But our friends at Autometer reached out, and we think they have something that'll package way cooler in here, and it's gonna be bigger than the original screen. Let's go through the history of the clusters in the Continental. This is the stock one. Obviously, it didn't quite work for us because we have an aftermarket ECU, so we couldn't get the information to display on there. So we went ahead and 3D printed an adapter plate here and mounted the fuel tech in here. It mounted like stock, fit in. But when you look in the car, you are always gonna know that we have an aftermarket ECU, and it doesn't quite fit the vibe we're going for.
It's not a sleeper build.
Yeah, it's not under the radar. So we saw that Autometer had a really cool display, full digital, that should be able to fit in there. It comes with everything we need to get it to mount in. We're gonna have to add a oil pressure sensor and a coolant temp sensor separately from the fuel tech. This is one of their new Envision dashes. It's over 13 inches long, so you can see how much bigger that is than either of those.
That's what she said.
Even the stock one, we took off this. You can see that window was the size of the original one. We're gonna have way more display area there. So that's gonna cause some problems because we wanna try to reuse this bezel. So we're gonna have to cut this open. Hopefully we don't have to end up 3D printing anything, but because there's no touch screen on the screen, we can leave the plastic here and make it look completely OEM. When you look in the car, you will not know.
When it's off, right?
Yeah, when it's off, you will not know that there's something else going on here. So we're gonna have to do some work, probably cut up the dash a little to make this
Looks
fit.
like we are, yeah.
Maybe we can take off this plastic to give us some more real estate. But we got some work ahead of us. We got wiring to do. It comes with the harness in here. They have plug and play for certain vehicles, right? Like you can get it with the full bezel and everything, Monte Carlo, trucks, Mustangs, but I don't see a Lincoln Continental.
2017.
Yeah, 2017 Lincoln Continental's not on here. So we're gonna have to make things work, but it shouldn't be too bad. It has like a separate little remote for the
Yeah, it's
dash.
not touchscreen, right?
Yep, so.
We're gonna have to put that in somewhere, but. All right, let's take this case off and see kind of what we have to work with.
Let's do it.
With the cover off, you can instantly see how much bigger this new display is compared to the stock. It's held with just 4 screws, so we pulled those and revealed the bare circuit board. The whole assembly turned out to be way slimmer than expected, which gave us confidence this upgrade is actually going to fit perfectly in the car. The stock Continental glass covered a huge portion of the Autometer display, blocking gauges and even some indicator lights. To fix that, we trimmed the backside of the case with a Dremel and a cut-off wheel, making small, precise cuts to open things up. Here's the modified glass with the stock Continental display. And yeah, that screen looks tiny now. But set it on top of the Autometer display, way better. Alright, while Jack is finishing up that cluster screen, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the sensors. So to make this work properly, we have to add this oil pressure sensor that comes with the kit. And we also have a coolant pressure or a coolant temperature sensor that we got to add. And we can't use the current sensors we have on the engine with the fuel tech to feed both gauges. So instead, what I'm going to go ahead and do is remove the oil filter housing, which is right back there. And we're going to end up tapping into it and teeing off for the oil pressure sensor. This should work decently. It's not the best way to go about it, but we got to make it work somehow. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out of the car and see what we got to do to make it fit. All right, here's the oil filter housing now removed from the engine. And as you can see, in this engine, it also has a coolant passage. This is what feeds the radiator in our case. So it's perfect because then we can now use this to add both the sensors. So here's a Fuel Tech oil pressure sensor that we're using right now to feed the Fuel Tech. So we picked up a T, and the plan is going to be to basically add the T into the housing here. And then one end is going to feed the Fuel Tech oil pressure sensor. That's going to feed the Fuel Tech. And the other one's going to feed this sensor, and that's going to feed the Autometer gauge. Then for the coolant temperature sensor, I think I'm just going to go ahead and tap straight into this boss here. The hose only goes up to this line, so this whole area is exposed. I just have to make sure there's nothing in the way, but I'll drill here, tap it, we'll thread our sensor into that, and then we'll just wire it up, and that should be it for the sensors. Now this is a unit right here. Better work, it should work, but I gotta get it back in the car and hopefully everything clears.
Hopefully I have this CAD done for...
So what's going on here?
well, I'm going to print a bracket to go from these. So this is for the autometer, and then this is the stock like mounting place on
handy.
the... Yeah, so we just need a little... Got this CADed up. Just a little bracket piece, so I'll screw right in, thread right into these.
Both sides?
Yep,
Same
it should
thing?
just be mirrored.
Yeah.
If everything's centered.
Okay. And then how do we know these still work?
These don't work. All right, we got our autometer gauge mounted to the stock cluster plastic here. So we just 3D printed some brackets that you saw in CAD, got those printed up, mounted, and it's sitting good now. So now we have to take this over to the car and see how this is going to fit inside. Now, one thing we do have to do is move the fuel tank since we're displacing it with this, but we think we got a plan of where to put it. So let's see though if this, how much we're gonna have to do to get this to fit. So, the bottom's gonna fit pretty good. We just gotta notch this out. The top though, yeah, so a screw here. The top is where we're gonna have to work. So obviously,
Actually, not that bad.
yeah, we just gotta, I think, cut.
Both of those?
Yeah.
We gotta cut that top.
Let's break out the air saw, start cutting some plastic. A little more. Easy peasy. OEM. All right, well, we got it clearanced enough. We could install the bottom bolts like it's supposed to, but we got to figure out some kind of bracket for the top because we had to cut where those mount points were. But honestly, it's pretty good. So I just got to figure out what we need here. Need some bridging bracket, and then all we got to do is work on wiring. All right, well, our cluster is now mounted, but if you notice, we got the car outside now because it's time to wire this thing up. So we're gonna have to pull the dash yet again.
I thought last time was the last time.
Luckily, Autometer provided us with a full harness with a bunch of wire here, extra wire, and they gave us all the instructions with what we need to wire up each wire to. So
Color coded.
oh
Nice.
yeah, it is color coded. Yeah, I didn't do the wiring so far. Diego labeled all these. Since this is a full dash, we're gonna have a few things we didn't have with the fuel tech because we didn't have enough inputs on the fuel tech. But now we're gonna get to leverage everything and have all the information displayed right in front of us. So we're gonna be able to add now our turn signal indicators, high beams. We can even have a check engine light, but we're not gonna worry about that. And we're gonna have wheel speed, so we're gonna put that in here, and fuel level, which we've been running without a fuel level up until this point. So that's going to be helpful. All we got to do now is tap into the wires that are behind the dash. So we're going to pull the dash so we can tee everything off that we need to. And then we have to run 2 new wires to the outside of the vehicle or to the engine for the oil and temperature sensor, but that will be quick. So we're going to pull out the dash now.
We broke out the test light to track down the wires for the turn signals, high beams, and a switched power source. While I was doing that, Jack tapped into the stock Continental display connector to hook up the rest of the inputs. We also tied into the Continental light switch, so now the autometer display brightness can be adjusted using the factory controls. Once all the signal wires were mapped out, I spliced them into the inline connector on the dash harness, then ran the oil pressure and coolant temp wires straight into the bulkhead connectors on the firewall. Alright, everything's plugged in. Bring the dash in.
You ready to see what it looks like?
We'll see.
Let's see if all the inside car stuff works.
So now we should have wheel speed, we should have turn signals, high beams. The actual thing should turn on properly with the start button.
Ready?
Alright, hit it. Car turns on.
Oh,
There you go.
it's working.
Get all the lights to turn on. Okay, now we gotta test everything out. So I guess I'll go to the back and you let me know
Okay.
when, or I'll let you know if they're working. So go left turn first.
Right?
Yeah.
Working?
Oh, is that your
Right.
other left?
Oh,
But
sorry, I
yes.
did right first.
Yeah, it's working.
Right? Working.
All right, now left.
Left.
Yep.
Left
that's on.
working. High beams.
Let me see. We have this test light here going to the switch. Yep.
Yep. Oh, just,
You got it?
yeah.
All right, here we go. So
High beams working.
all the lights in there work.
What else is there?
So now
Oh,
the one
speed.
thing, yeah,
Fuel level. We got half a tank. We got to set that. I think
Yeah.
that's right, though. I think
I'm not
that's
sure
pretty
how
close.
many gallons we have, but it's reading something, which is
Yeah.
better than nothing we were
Nothing.
reading before. Battery voltage.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess speedo. So I'm gonna jack up that right
Yeah,
wheel
see.
and
This is gonna
give
be
it some
sick,
spins.
dude. This is gonna be sick.
all right. You ready?
Yeah. Spin it.
It should be reading something, no?
Nah.
All right. Well, we've hit our first roadblock. Looks like we're not getting vehicle speed anytime soon. We've tried reading the sensor directly, both front and rear, and we're just not getting anything from the front, which is the one we wired to. So
Well, we haven't tried the rear. We could try it and see.
Yeah.
It's a they have a different
sensor.
resistance.
Yeah.
So this is like 4 milliohms. That rear one was 400,000 ohms. Both front ones measured the same. So it's not creating a voltage, an AC voltage either.
Yeah, we've tried a multimeter. We're getting nothing basically from the front.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try with the rear sensor. If that works, we'll just have to wire the
Swap the
move the signal to the rear. But otherwise, we might have to do some homework, figure out what exactly these sensors are doing.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
All right, so we've been messing around with the fuel tech, going back and forth with them a couple times, and I think we found our problem and got it fixed. So there was a table in there on the second throttle body that had to get adjusted, that it wasn't automatically adjusting with the TPS relearn procedure. Now with that table adjusted, I can see both throttle values for from the throttle bodies, 7.6 on one, 8% on two, and when I step on it, floor it, we go up to 100%, which is what we want to see, or 97%. And you could hear, can you feel?
Oh yeah, I can definitely feel both of them working.
Okay. So now that we got the throttle bodies working, we should be able to go for a drive. We just got to finish putting in that autometer gauge cluster.
Before we could reinstall the interior, we had to relocate the fuel tech. The center console turned out to be the perfect spot. It's got a deep pocket we could cut into to run the harness and vacuum line. So I broke out the air saw and started cutting. And just like that, it's ready. Now we can get the interior back together.
3 hours later.
We got the interior all back in.
Well, semi. There's still a couple panels we haven't put back
Have we
together.
ever had it all back in?
Not yet, not yet. But now we have everything we need.
Oh, you
To
put
check
the original
fitment.
cluster back in?
Everything's fitting pretty good. You wouldn't even know there's anything back there other than the OEM stuff. The fuel tech is right over here, fit pretty well.
We're gonna have to mount that up, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna probably 3D print something that maybe hides it or something. But right now,
Are we
a
gonna
pretty
be able
good
to
fit.
close this? Or
We should be able to.
we'll figure
Maybe
out
not
a
right now,
way.
but yeah, we'll figure out a way. So now we're gonna turn the car on, make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to. So here we go. All right, field tech. Well, autometer, field tech. Nice. We couldn't figure out the wheel speed. We checked in the rears and they still wouldn't work. So we're gonna have to figure out a way around that. We might have to call Autometer and see how if they can help us out, figure out a way.
We're getting our plate on so we can be legal. Let's see if it starts after everything we did.
Nothing like the smell of E85 in the morning. Is it quieter a little bit?
Yeah, so it's different.
Yeah.
Pretty loud.
Alrighty. Let's go out for a test drive.
How's it feel to be legal on the road?
It feels different, dude. I don't feel like I have to watch out every 2 minutes for cops.
Now you got all your information there. No speed still.
Yeah, we still gotta figure out speed, and it looks like the engine temp gauge is reading higher than the fuel tech.
Oh wait, is it? It's 170
It's 170.
Oh,
This is
150.
150. So we gotta.
Oh,
figure that out
that's
still.
more right. I think this is wrong.
You think so?
Yeah.
Now we got a small overpass coming up. Let's see what she sounds like. Downshifting, alright. Hit it. Oh my god, you can actually hear it!
Oh shit, we didn't find a longer one, dude.
Yeah, that would be. Dude, if we find a tunnel, holy shit. Nice. Man, that noise just does not get old. All right, the engine still sounds amazing. The intake sounds crisp. Time to take this back home, continue to work. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you on the next one.